Understanding how to interact respectfully and thoughtfully with women is essential for building meaningful relationships. Whether it's in dating, friendship, or professional settings, there are certain behaviors that can erode trust and respect. In this article, we'll delve into 5 key things men should avoid doing with women to foster healthier and more respectful connections. 1. Don't interrupt or dismiss their opinions. One of the most fundamental ways to show respect to anyone, especially women, is by valuing their voice. Interrupting or dismissing their opinions, whether consciously or unconsciously, can create feelings of invalidation and frustration. For women, this behavior can carry an even heavier weight because it taps into historical and ongoing struggles for equality and recognition in both personal and professional spheres. When you interrupt someone, you are essentially sending a message. What I have to say is more important than what you're saying. This is not just impolite. It diminishes the other person's confidence and discourages them from sharing their thoughts in the future. Women, in particular, are often socialized to be accommodating or polite, which can make it harder for them to push back when interrupted. If you find yourself cutting someone off, pause and reflect on why. Is it impatience? A desire to assert dominance? Recognizing the habit is the first step toward breaking it. Dismissing a woman's opinion, on the other hand, happens when you either belittle her ideas or fail to take them seriously. This could be as blatant as saying, "That's not important," or as subtle as changing the subject right after she speaks. While you might not intend harm, these actions can erode trust and mutual respect. For women, who may already face challenges in being heard in male-dominated spaces, such dismissive behavior reinforces the idea that their contributions are undervalued. Instead, strive to be an active listener. Active listening means giving your full attention, maintaining eye contact, and responding thoughtfully to what she says. Even if you disagree with her point, acknowledge it before offering your perspective. For example, you might say, "I see where you're coming from, but here's another angle to consider." This approach not only validates her opinion but also opens the door for constructive dialogue. In professional settings, interrupting or dismissing a woman's input can have even more severe consequences. It perpetuates workplace inequities and stifles collaboration. Studies have shown that women are interrupted significantly more often than men during meetings, which can hinder their ability to contribute and advance their careers. If you're in a group setting, be mindful of who gets interrupted and who does most of the talking. If you notice a pattern, take action by redirecting the conversation back to the person who was interrupted. "I think her name was about to finish her thought. Let's hear the rest." In personal relationships, valuing her opinions is just as important. When your partner or friend shares her thoughts or feelings, it's not only an expression of trust but also an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. If you habitually interrupt or dismiss her, you risk creating a dynamic where she feels unheard and unappreciated. Over time, this can lead to resentment and emotional distance. Ultimately, the simple act of listening can have a profound impact on your relationships. It signals that you respect her perspective and value her as an equal. By consciously avoiding interruptions and dismissive behavior, you're not only fostering mutual respect but also creating a space where open, honest communication can thrive. Respecting her voice is one of the most powerful ways to show you care. 2. Don't make assumptions about their capabilities. Making assumptions about a woman's capabilities based on her gender is not only disrespectful but also harmful to her growth and the relationship you share with her. Whether in personal, professional, or social contexts, such assumptions undermine her individuality and perpetuate outdated stereotypes that have no place in today's world. Many men, often unintentionally, fall into the trap of underestimating or overestimating a woman's abilities simply because of preconceived notions. For example, assuming she might not understand mechanical work, sports, or finances, or presuming she must excel at caregiving or domestic tasks, is a reflection of bias rather than reality. These stereotypes, even when unspoken, can shape interactions in ways that limit opportunities for genuine understanding and equality. Instead of making assumptions, the key is to approach each person, woman or man, as an individual. Acknowledge that everyone has unique strengths, interests, and limitations that cannot be determined by superficial traits like gender. If you find yourself questioning her capability in a particular area, don't default to doubt or judgment. Instead, Ask open-ended questions or give her the space to demonstrate her abilities. In the workplace, this issue becomes even more critical. Women are often overlooked for leadership roles or challenging projects because of assumptions about their competence or commitment, especially if they are balancing personal responsibilities like parenting. These biases create glass ceilings and contribute to gender inequality in professional environments. To counteract this, actively support equal opportunities by evaluating individuals based on merit, skills, and performance rather than preconceived ideas. If you're in a position of influence, advocate for policies that promote inclusivity and diversity. In personal relationships, making assumptions can be just as damaging. Assuming a woman isn't interested in certain hobbies or isn't capable of handling particular tasks can create an unequal dynamic. For example, if you automatically handle all financial decisions because you assume she isn't interested or capable, you're denying her the opportunity to participate equally. Likewise, assuming she can take care of everything at home because of traditional gender roles places an unfair burden on her. These assumptions can also affect communication. For instance, if you approach a problem with the belief that she's too emotional to handle it rationally, you're likely to dismiss her input before even hearing it. This not only silences her perspective but also damages trust and mutual respect in the relationship. To avoid this, practice self-awareness and humility. Recognize that your assumptions are shaped by societal conditioning and may not reflect reality. Be willing to unlearn biases and seek out her perspective directly. Ask questions like, "What do you think about this?" or "How would you like to handle this situation?" These questions not only show respect but also empower her to contribute authentically. Encouragement and support go a long way. 2. If you see potential in her, don't let stereotypes hold her back. Instead, cheer her on and offer help when asked, not because you assume she needs it, but because it's what supportive people do for one another. Trust her to handle challenges and give her the freedom to succeed or fail on her own terms. At its core, avoiding assumptions is about treating women as equals and respecting their agency. It's about recognizing that everyone deserves to be seen for who they are, not who society expects them to be. By shedding these assumptions, you not only build stronger relationships but also contribute to a more equitable and understanding world. 3. Don't use manipulative tactics. Manipulation is one of the quickest ways to erode trust and damage any relationship. Whether intentional or not, using manipulative tactics to influence or control a woman is a sign of insecurity and disrespect. Healthy relationships, romantic, platonic, or professional, are built on mutual respect, honesty, and open communication, not coercion or deceit. Manipulative behavior can take many forms. It might be subtle, like guilt-tripping her into agreeing with your plans, or more overt, like using emotional outbursts to get your way. Other examples include gaslighting, where you make her doubt her own feelings or perceptions, or withholding affection to punish her for not meeting your expectations. Regardless of the method, manipulation creates an unhealthy dynamic where one person's needs and desires are prioritized over the other's autonomy and well-being. One of the most harmful aspects of manipulation is that it undermines trust. When a woman realizes she's being manipulated, she may start questioning your intentions and sincerity in other areas of the relationship. Even if your actions stem from insecurity rather than malice, the result is the same: a breakdown in open communication and a growing emotional distance. Instead of resorting to manipulation, focus on creating a foundation of transparency and understanding. If you want her to do something, express your feelings and desires clearly and respectfully. For example, rather than saying, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this. Try. This is something that's important to me. Can we talk about it?" This approach fosters collaboration rather than coercion and allows her to make choices based on respect rather than obligation. It's also important to recognize and address the underlying insecurities that might drive manipulative behavior. Ask yourself why you feel the need to control or influence her in a particular way. Are you afraid of losing her? Do you feel your opinions or needs aren't being heard? Once you identify these feelings, work on addressing them directly, either through self-reflection, open dialogue with her, or seeking external support if needed. In addition to avoiding manipulative tactics, be mindful of how you respond when you notice them in yourself or others. If you catch yourself falling into a manipulative pattern, acknowledge it and apologize. Taking responsibility for your actions shows maturity and a commitment to improving the relationship. Similarly, if someone else points out manipulative behavior, resist the urge to become defensive. Instead, listen and reflect on how your actions might be impacting the other person. Lastly, manipulation isn't always intentional, and some behaviors might be deeply ingrained habits that you've carried from past relationships or learned from your environment. This is why self-awareness is crucial. Regularly check in with yourself and evaluate whether your actions are aligning with your values and fostering a healthy relationship dynamic. At the heart of any meaningful relationship is a sense of mutual respect and agency. By avoiding manipulative tactics, you're not only showing respect for her individuality but also creating a space where both of you can grow and thrive together. Honesty, empathy, and collaboration will always achieve more than control or deceit ever could. 4. Don't objectify or reduce them to their appearance. Reducing a woman to her physical appearance is one of the most disrespectful things a man can do. While it's natural to notice and appreciate beauty, focusing solely on looks objectifies her and disregards the depth of her personality, skills, and values. No one wants to feel like they're being judged only for how they look. And doing so can make her feel devalued and unseen as a person. When you reduce someone to their appearance, you fail to recognize their humanity. This kind of behavior stems from a culture that prioritizes physical beauty over inner qualities, often reinforced by media and societal norms. However, relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, require more than surface-level appreciation to thrive. Reducing a woman to her looks creates a shallow dynamic that lacks the emotional connection and respect needed for meaningful interactions. For example, constantly complimenting a woman on her physical traits while ignoring her achievements, ideas, or ambitions sends the message that her worth is tied solely to her appearance. This can be especially damaging in professional settings, where women often face barriers to being taken seriously because of such attitudes. In personal relationships, this behavior can lead to feelings of insecurity or frustration, as it overlooks the deeper qualities that make her unique. It's important to shift the focus toward appreciating her as a whole person. Compliment her on her intelligence, creativity, sense of humor, or the way she supports those around her. Recognize her contributions, celebrate her accomplishments, and show genuine interest in her thoughts and feelings. By doing so, you're affirming that her worth isn't defined by how she looks but by who she is. Another aspect to consider is how you speak about women in general. Making casual remarks about someone's body or appearance, even in passing, reinforces objectifying attitudes. This applies not just to interactions with the women in your life but also to conversations with other men. Calling out and challenging these behaviors, even in social circles, helps foster a culture of respect and equality. Understanding the impact of objectification also requires addressing the subtle ways it can manifest. For example, if your interactions with women change based on how attractive you find them, it's a sign that you're unconsciously prioritizing appearance. Similarly, expecting women to look a certain way to meet societal standards or comparing them to others based on their looks can perpetuate harmful dynamics. Ultimately, valuing women beyond their physical appearance strengthens your relationships and deepens your connections. When you see and appreciate someone for their character, strengths, and individuality, you create a space for authenticity and trust. Treating women with respect isn't just about avoiding objectification. It's about acknowledging and celebrating the full spectrum of who they are. By shifting your perspective and focusing on what truly matters, you not only become a better partner, friend, or colleague but also contribute to a world where everyone feels seen and valued for who they are, not just how they look. 5. Don't ignore their boundaries. Respecting boundaries is a cornerstone of any healthy and meaningful relationship. Ignoring or dismissing a woman's boundaries not only shows a lack of respect but also creates an environment of discomfort, distrust, and emotional harm. Boundaries are not arbitrary. They are essential expressions of personal needs, values, and comfort levels. Overstepping them disregards her autonomy and can damage the foundation of your connection. Boundaries exist in all aspects of life, whether emotional, physical, or social. For example, if she communicates that she needs personal space, consistently pushing her to engage can make her feel suffocated or disrespected. Similarly, Dismissing her request for emotional boundaries, like not bringing up certain sensitive topics, shows a lack of consideration for her feelings and mental well-being. One common issue arises when men assume that boundaries are negotiable or subject to change if they push hard enough. This approach is not only disrespectful but also manipulative, as it prioritizes your desires over her comfort. Boundaries are meant to be acknowledged and respected, not debated or challenged. Pressuring someone to bend their boundaries can lead to resentment and a breakdown in trust. Another way boundaries are often ignored is through jokes or dismissive comments. For instance, if she sets a boundary and you respond with sarcasm or downplay its importance, it sends the message that her feelings aren't valid. Even if you think her boundary is unnecessary or overly cautious, it's essential to respect it. Boundaries are deeply personal and reflect each individual's experiences, vulnerabilities, and values. Respecting boundaries isn't just about avoiding harm, it's also about fostering trust and safety. When you honor her boundaries, you're showing that you value her autonomy and care about her emotional well-being. This creates an environment where she feels comfortable being herself and confident that her needs will be respected. To ensure you're respecting boundaries, prioritize open communication. If you're uncertain about where her boundaries lie, ask her directly and listen without judgment. Pay attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues, as people often express discomfort through body language when they feel unable to voice it outright. It's also crucial to recognize that boundaries can evolve over time. Just because she was comfortable with something before doesn't mean she will always feel the same way. Regular check-ins help ensure that you're still on the same page and respecting her current needs. If you ever unintentionally cross a boundary, take responsibility immediately. Apologize sincerely and avoid becoming defensive or justifying your actions. Acknowledging your mistake and committing to doing better demonstrates maturity and a willingness to grow. Ultimately, respecting boundaries is about seeing the other person as an equal, whose feelings and needs are just as important as your own. It shows that you're willing to put in the effort to build a relationship based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. By honoring her boundaries, you create a space where she feels valued and respected, and that's the foundation of any strong connection.